In this video, we'll go over through some of the biggest changes what has happened in MuscleMonitor since the latest update. Before starting, I'll urge you to go to our website www.myontech.com/musclemonitor, where you can find the latest information about the software. Also, you can always download the latest version and find all sort of different kind of tutorials and videos on how to accomplish some of the basic and more detailed tasks within the software. You can also find the latest release notes and the changes between the versions listed in here. And in today's video, we have highlighted some of the biggest changes and we'll go over through them one by one. Mainly focusing on the comparison feature and the thresholds feature, but also we'll quickly go over through some extended device support and some license information. Also, at the end of the video, also a few words about exporting data and some other minor tasks what you can accomplish. Okay, but we'll start with the comparison. And what does the comparison feature include is, for example, I have a trainee selected who holds already different kind of data. And for example, I have run a half marathon this year and last year. I might be interested to know on what are the major changes since the last year and how the data is different, and I would like to compare them. Before I can open up the file, maybe I can open up also the second file like this, and then I can compare these files and try to distinguish the major differences in the data like this. But now we also have the comparison. So what I can do is I can select both of these files by holding the Control key. So it's basically just like a basic Windows controls. I have now both files selected and I can open up the comparison. If you do not like the blue color of the screen, we can actually modify by the UI and change all the colors within. So for example, I can change the main background color to whatever I want. Yeah, we'll go dark. And then I can change also the chart. Also the file colors can be changed like this. And it will remember the settings when you open up this view the next time. Okay, so what I have here now is that I have both of the files on top of each other, and I can see that, okay, they look almost the same. Of course, some differences. For example, this year I actually ran a little bit slower, so the file is longer. Last year I had high muscle activity at the very start of the training or running. And also from the values we can see that the distribution is pretty much the same, except that something has happened in the left glutes and also some differences in the right quadriceps. Okay. If we go to the chart options, I can also show speed and heart rate if it has been added to the data. But then also, if we want to go very close and I really want to see what's the difference between each stride, I can, for example, open up the left hamstring. Okay, it looks quite mushy, but if we zoom in closer and closer with the mouse scroll or by using this handlebar, we can start to see each stride on top of each other. And for example, if I go here, I can now have a pretty good look on what's the difference in the muscle activity between each stride. What I can also do is that I can actually offset these a bit, so I can have this kind of landmark. So I want these to be on top of each other. So I can go to the top and offset this second file. By clicking, we can move one sample, so 40 milliseconds, and we'll get these aligned. And now it's quite easy for me to compare these strides between each others and see the difference between them. If I find this interesting, I can also take a quick snapshot of this screen. So if I click here, it saves the screen as an image and automatically opens up the folder location for me. So if I open this one now, I can see that it has made a screen for me, which I could then copy or use in some other report. Okay. If I now go back, I can be interested also in something else. So just put the muscle load. And cadence. Zoom back out a bit. And then take another snapshot. And I can have it stored as a PNG file. Okay. And then we will go over to thresholds. What the threshold is that you can set up a custom level of activity for each channel of data. Then that level can be visualized in a new measurement. So then you can define if you wish, or is the goal to try to get above the threshold or try to stay at the threshold. That's up to you. So how is that done then? First, we will go to the trainee settings and we select exercise metrics, and we also select what kind of activity we wish to bind that threshold. For example, I can now do a custom measurement, custom file. I have other settings here, the MFT, default MFT settings, but then we also have the add threshold button here, and we can click it. We have to select the channel we wish to apply the threshold to, for example, left quads, and then we will give some value to it, 165. Okay, and we have now a new threshold set up. Okay, we will make one more. We will use left hams, 180. Okay, we can do this to all of the different muscle group channels we wish, but for now I will just use these two. So how we can then utilize this is that first I will check my devices. For now I wish to use this device. I will save and we will make a new measurement. Okay, now I will use the same exercise I just set up the thresholds for, so it was custom file. And we can use the live view for now. I'll hide the problem detection for now and bring up the trainer. And in here we can now see that we have these two thresholds set up. So we can use these as visual cues. For example, I could try to activate my left quads so I can get up to that 165. Okay, this is dummy data, so I cannot now get up there. But you can use them in your measurements however you wish. Okay, also in research view, I can connect the device the same way, start up the measurement. And also in here we have now these visual cues for the left quads and left hams set up. So I can use them to try and get my activity to stay at that level. Okay, that's basically it. In the future, I'm sure that we can add some more features around the thresholds. So, for example, we can show the data or the signal in a relation to the threshold, so you can get a percentual estimation of the signal. It really depends on what kind of feedback we will get from our users. Okay, that's basically it about the thresholds. One thing to mention about the thresholds is still that, for example, if I have stored a session and, for example, I wish to change that this one running session, I want to change it to custom 5. And I have set up the thresholds for it, but now I also have to refresh those thresholds by clicking here. So otherwise the thresholds won't be seen. It's also the same if you bring up measurements from the memory of the Mcell and it pops up in here and it's not specified, but then you change it so that it's custom 5 and you wish to set the thresholds, you can refresh them here. And it's the same way you can refresh the MFD zones if you have set them up. Okay, so now I should have, if I open this file and click the chart controls and show thresholds, and I have the same threshold set up for this file also. Okay. Next, a few words about the device support. We have brought out the third generation of Mcell in the spring, and some of the Mcells contain IMU or inertial sensors. Just to show how it looks like in the MuscleMonitor, this is a pre-recorded file. In this measurement, we had an Mcell with the IMU enabled, so I can see that where I have these EMG channels, I now also have the IMU channels. So we have 3 channels for accelerometer and 3 for gyroscope. And if I'll deselect some of these like this and then zoom in closer, I can actually see how there is negative velocity when I land on my foot and positive acceleration when I push up and off the ground. Okay. About the license, we have made a small change to licensing system. So this only affects if you have multiple users on your PC. So for example, I am now logged in as Sami Kumpulainen, but if I would use another account, previously MuscleMonitor would have asked me to input a second license for a second user, but now it works so that all the users in the same PC can use the same license. So that's one thing that might help some of you. Okay, a few words about exporting data. We have a few ways to get the data out of the MuscleMonitor and then move it to some another software. And one of the very common ways to do that is that you export this kind of CSV file, and that is done, for example, by selecting one file and then just simply clicking export file on the top right corner. It will ask you on a few different options on how you wish to export the data. One is the pure 25 Hz signals. Click export and it will ask where you wish to store this data. And one of the changes in the latest version is that we have now added some more data, for example, the timestamp and the elapsed time from the start of the measurement, and also some other metadata about the file. Okay. Also, another way is to copy the data. And what this means is that if we open up this file, we use the labs, for example. Okay, so I have set up for this file 6 labs. I wish to have now this lab information quickly. So what I can do is I will copy the general information to clipboard by using this button. I will bring up the notepad, and then if I paste or Control V this, it will give me all the basic information about all the labs. I can also copy the signal values like this, and then you can paste them also in, for example, in Excel and have them occupy the cells. Also, what has changed is that, for example, if this is an interval exercise and I have rested on lap 3, I'm not interested in that. I can hide this, and I can also hide this and this. So I have now 3 laps visible. And if I now copy these files, it will only copy the values of the labs that were interesting for me. So this is one quick way to copy values from different areas of the file. Of course, I can still also use the results and, for example, just select these rows and then just copy them here. Okay, those were the most biggest changes in version 3.1. Please keep submitting feedback, and always, if you have exciting ideas for new features, please let us know. And you can find all of these and more in the website I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. Okay, have a nice day.